contract, literally the only thing you need to do is name your contract, right? So whatever you want, whatever name you want to use on testnet, put in, and then you're ready to press deploy, and it will actually set up your full smart contract for you. This smart contract's actually pretty advanced. We're not going to talk too much about everything it does, but essentially it's prepared for anything from like a standard NFT to dynamic NFTs to yeah, one of ones, mutable NFTs. Everything related to that is already available, and basically the metadata of every item is fully within your control. So once that happens, you'll see your smart contract is ready, and you'll also be able to look at the source code for it. So you'll see it got deployed under my name, and then you'll notice that this contract setup, you are free to look over the contract if you want. But yeah, just some of the big things that it has are all of the metadata views are fully supported on Flow so that other apps can very easily see your images and metadata. It's got mutability built in, so essentially you can change NFTs afterwards, which supports all the dynamic NFTs. And there's things to set up royalties, all of that just from the beginning. Great. Once you've
I have a question,
yes,
Anir. That is it. How would one? Is it compatible with the NFT catalog?
yes. I was going to show this a little bit
Okay.
later, but we
Okay.
actually
Sure. Sure.
also
Sure.
make it.
Sorry, I didn't want to. I didn't want to distract,
No,
but this
no,
is great
no.
to
You're
know.
100%. One of the little experiences you can do in here, and feel free to do this yourself, is you can just give your collection a name, description, everything, and we'll actually handle publishing it to catalog for you. This is also where you can add things like royalties, so you can specify a royalty address and everything like that, and we'll make sure that all of that gets put on chain for you as well. But yeah,
That
this
that is
experience
awesome.
makes it easy to publish to catalog.
Yeah, and for those of you who are new to Flow, the cool thing about the NFT catalog is that it's an on-chain catalog for all NFT projects. So basically, by being in the catalog, you're automatically compatible with marketplaces, and it's very easy to find your project and integrate with other apps. The fact that the NFT catalog is baked into Niftory, I would say, is a big deal and is definitely a big convenience. So great to see.
Yeah, no, ideally, this whole experience is very easy for you to set up. So for the next part of this, hopefully you all have had a chance while we've been talking to kind of set up your application. And if anyone's had any issues, feel free to join our Discord and put in any issues you've had. Our team will definitely help you work through any of those. But in general, you should have been able to get your API key and all of these different pieces of information. And now you can actually go and start coding. I'm going to switch back to the app that I'd used before, but they're they're pretty much the same, right? So the best place to start coding, obviously, you should look at our docs, but uh, in general, a really useful repo is just the samples repo. And in here, you can see a few different samples. Ones we'll be going through today are the Dapper Wallet one and the walletless onboarding one. So essentially, the first one is really all about making it easy for you to build an app with Dapper Wallet and start being able to use that. The next experience is about just really just onboarding people without actually having to set up a wallet at all. The first one's going to be a pure DApp, right? So what it's going to be doing is it's never asking for your email or anything like that. It's just going to let you sign in with a Dapper wallet and let you do everything using that. So to do this, all you really need to do is clone this address, right? So whatever, however you prefer to clone it, just bring it in locally into your. From there is run a quick yarn install, and And this is just getting all the dependencies this app uses. It's just a standard Next.js app, so using kind of React as most of the core, the so you can go and make it all live on top of Vercel very, very quickly. In here, you'll see. Is that better?
Yeah, better.
Perfect.
Thank you. And just FYI, 0x Kamal is kindly recording this, so we will have a recording.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All right, keep going. So sorry to have interrupted you.
Yeah, no, you are 100% good. So, really the main things you'll need to do in here are change this app to be pointing to your API keys. That's really all. And then it's going to be set up for you to make whatever customizations you want or just start a new application. But this gives you an interesting little starting point so you can start exploring the overall product. So, and just exploring the Flow blockchain in general. So, what I'll do in here is really just copy all of this information and replace these fields with what I have in my admin app, right? So, just getting this information. Obviously, people are not supposed to see the secret. This is actually the most secret piece of information we are giving you on here, but this is against testnet. It's also a demo app, so not too worried. But basically, once you copied this information, the app will be ready to work under your account and under your address. We'll pull in all the information we need around your contract, etc., because we're just storing that on the back end for you. Cool. So after you've run yarn install where it's picked up all the information, then you're actually ready to start with next. The way that usually works is just typing in yarn dev. If you're ever confused about any of that, the commands are in here. So really all I'm doing is this, which is going to actually run the app on my local host. So I have preset this app with a couple of things. Your app is going to look completely empty and it's not going to have your wallet connected or anything like that. Actually, we can go all the way from scratch and just use this other application if that's easier for folks to follow along with. Let's do this one. Okay. So I just have to restart. But now you'll see that your app is actually empty and your collection should be empty as expected. Sometimes you have to do a second log out on FCL just because that may be logged in locally still. But this app is a completely clean app. It maps over to this environment over here where I don't have any NFTs or anything like that. First thing I'll do in here is actually set up my wallet. So this is connecting to your wallet. It's getting everything set up for it. So this app is actually pre-readied. You will have to follow some steps on the Dapper developer side, and we'll walk through what those steps look like, but I won't do them all here. We are working with Dapper on making some of this portion easier, but basically what you will want to do is really submit your application into Dapper developer if you've never logged in there. The first time you log in, it'll give you a little bit of walk through on what you're supposed to do, but then it'll let you create a new application. You'll want to click this to create your first app in testnet. Then you can go and start pointing to some of these. Just point to some of this information and it will prepare your app, right? So in
And
here,
A quick question here, just because some people may not be familiar with the wallet ecosystem on Flow. Um, is Niftory only compatible with Dapper Wallet, or is it also compatible with other FCL wallets?
Yeah, no, it's actually fully compatible with any FCL wallet. We're just doing the Dapper sample
Okay,
today, mostly just because this is the most complex wallet setup. The other
okay,
ones are very, very straightforward, where it's just going to
okay.
get your app set up
Cool.
immediately.
Yeah, so just wanted to make clear that you don't have to use Dapper Wallet. Of course, Anir is showing that it's definitely possible, and that's great. But if you have started your app on, for example, using a different wallet, or you want to use Lilico, for example, then you can still use,
Wallet ecosystem and let your
which
users
is probably
decide
the
what
best,
wallet to
which
use.
is probably the best option.
Yeah, that's usually going to be your best option. The reason we do have quite a few people use Dapper Wallet as their primary wallet is purchase experience, right? So Dapper Wallet has purchasing an NFT fully available for you with credit card right from the beginning. So if you are trying to set up your contract on Dapper Wallet, you will need a little bit more information and a little bit more setup. That some of this actually does come directly from NFT catalog, which makes it easy. But since we haven't submitted that or done that process here, we'll walk through a little bit of what you need to do. Basically, you'll need to provide the information for um, your smart contract into here. That will look like um, sorry, that will look like basically a dot your address name or your address information without the 0x, and then your app name or your actual contract name, right? So that's all the information I got from here, the address and the contract name. Then the next piece of information it needs is your storage and your paths. All you really need to do is copy this collection path folder. We just make that unique across everyone. So it's a little bit longer than some of the other ones you may have seen. It just makes sure that there's like guaranteed uniqueness on the storage path.
Which is also something very useful because I already saw some people asking on Discord, like, "Hey, how do you manage path collisions and stuff?" Well, by using Niftory, all of that is taken care of by making sure the paths are unique. So, yeah,
Yeah, we're making sure every app is getting its own unique path, and you'll just be able to use that everywhere. And then the next part of the setup is really just your transactions. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. These transactions are just a few canned transactions that set up being able to create your wallet, set up your wallet, and also allow you to purchase items. We'll walk through a little bit of them, but the core is essentially it's just preparing wallets to be ready for your NFT. And this is just like an ease of functionality. So you can just quickly go in and have your app fully ready. The most interesting thing is the purchase transaction is built for being able to do like on-demand minting and everything like that. So you don't actually have to have minted all the NFTs in advance. They can actually be minted really as you go. Okay. Perhaps this is a good little point if people had any questions to do that, and then we can like wrap up and show what the full experience looks like before we move into walletless onboarding. Are there any questions on kind of like the core of setting up your experience? Hopefully you all were able to get yours set up as well.
Hi, can you hear me?
I see Noah is typing. If anyone has any questions, also let me know if you're able to unmute, just so I can tweak the permissions here. Yeah, I see Kamal is able to unmute. Feel free to also speak up if you have questions.
But I don't think you guys would be able to hear me.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean, if you all were able to get this set up, that is great. I'm just reverting back to the old keys just because it is actually going to be a little bit easier to go through everything on this one, which is already pre-set up with the Dapper wallet.
Anir, there's a couple questions coming in and a lot more people typing.
Oh, okay.
So
Let's
Noah
wait for
asks, I don't think I noticed, but does the API support deploying an NFT collection where there's multiple editions for each NFT?
Yes. Really, all of that is very controllable for you. We'll walk through creating your first NFT on Niftory, but yeah, it will 100% support all of that for you. So you can do one of 1,000s, one of 100,000s, one of ones. It's all under your control.
Well, do you want to just go through the rest of the questions? They're all at the bottom.
Yep, exactly. For the NFT catalog, I think Andrea gave a great description of what it does, but the core of it is that it makes it so everyone can see what all the NFTs available on Flow are and be able to interact with them. So imagine if you're a third party marketplace, what you can do is go look at the catalog to say, okay, here's all of the 100 collections that are available on Flow, and you can go ahead and like show the NFTs correctly in the way that the builder would have wanted. Can purchases use Flow token? With Dapper Wallet, you'll have to have a second transaction for the Flow tokens versus the USD tokens, but yeah, that should be completely doable as well. In terms of how Niftory works, think of it as a layer between you and Flow. So essentially, we're just making it easier for you to interact with Flow from everything from creating an NFT, minting an NFT, transferring an NFT, to creating custodial wallets, all of those different things. Then, can people pay for an NFT directly with a credit card without having to create a wallet? You actually can. We're not going to go through that level of functionality today. We do offer it within the platform and through a separate partnership with Stripe for crypto, but essentially that'll make it so you can use a custodial wallet or anything like that and do purchases off chain for those users. If you do want to learn a little bit more about that, definitely message us on the Niftory Discord and we can show you a little bit of what you need to look at, but it'll be kind of the listings API. You'll be able to see that if you're looking at our references. Okay, perfect. No, that was a great set of questions from everyone, but now we'll just keep going a little bit. Okay, so where we paused was really all around our NFT setup. As I mentioned, I'm just going to use this one where I have already set up some NFTs, but we will walk through what creating a new NFT looks like. There's actually two ways to do this for time. Today, we're going to show you just how to do this with our UI. But basically, in our UI, you can create a new set of NFTs. This is really just an organization method for you, right? So, like you can call it whatever you want, but essentially this will create a grouping of a bunch of different NFTs for you. You can use this as like a way to complete challenges, right? If you complete so much in a set. But it's really up to you how you actually do want to use it. And then the next step is you can create an item. Again, 100% you can do all of this via API. In fact, we do have a lot of people using our API to do this, especially when they're creating like 1,000 one of ones, right? You don't want to be filling out this form 1,000 times. Then the API actually comes in really, really useful to be able to do this. You can also embed this entire experience inside of your app. So really, it's fully controllable by you. Um, but really in here you can control the title and description. There was a question around if you can have multiple editions for the NFT. Yeah, I can specify that right here, right? So I'm just creating this NFT with 5,000 editions. And I do have a place with some pictures. You'll see us use a bunch of these little wildlife photos, but really in here you can upload your images. What we're actually doing in this step, which is actually pretty interesting too, is we're uploading them to IPFS, which again is decentralized storage. So it's always going to be available on the chain, but then we are also uploading it for you on S3 so that it's available for you in kind of like faster to fetch ways so you can more easily just share them with users.
Nice.
In
And it
terms of
actually might
metadata,
be,
go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you. I think it might be a good if you want to maybe dedicate 30 seconds and talk about, why have both on-chain and off-chain files. Like why are you? Because I think it's something that's often overlooked, right? That people either store it off-chain or store it on-chain. I think having best of both worlds is is a great perk. If you want to talk about it.
Yeah, actually, we do that for a lot of different things too. So we'll talk about one other step where we do that, where there's like off-chain attributes as well as on-chain metadata. But really the key reason to do that for your images is you do want someone to be able to reliably always be able to go to that image, even if they look up that NFT on chain. So if someone did just look at this NFT on the chain, they're always going to see the IPFS addresses. They can make sure that the NFT will always be around, even if a company goes away or it changes hands or anything like that. The S3 URLs are really an optimization. What they do is make it so your website loads fast, the image loads fast. They can be cached, CDN. There's a lot of technology to make sure that your images can render and show on your website as fast as possible. So that's why we're kind of doing both of those things for you, so you can focus on your user experience, but also do the right thing on chain. Now, in terms of attributes, so again, your blockchain metadata, this experience is pretty simple. It's just going to let you put in keys and values. But if you want nested data or like more complex metadata, you will have to use the API. And on the API, you can really just specify that metadata to be whatever you want it to be. It can be as complex as you need. The attributes are just something that you can attach to each NFT that we're storing off chain for you. So like there's various ways people use this. A good example is price, right? So they can put like the price as a field on the metadata and then use that inside of their application. That's not on chain. You probably don't want like the original price on chain. You may. It's up to you. Another one that's going to be the exact example that we'll walk through is you can specify if like a certain NFT as like just claimable for free or something like that. But basically what this experience did here is actually just create the item. I wonder if it'll mess up with some of that, but yeah, really it's going to say none of these NFTs are minted yet. There's 5,000 total, and then you're ready to go and like mint, start giving them out or anything like that. I'm actually going to put one attribute on this one, which is claimable. And if you're following along with our sample app, you'll probably want to do that as well. Okay, I'm actually going to flip back to this other app where I've already configured a couple of these. You're going to see that they're the same exact ones, right? So there's a demo NFT. This one is not claimable. And then there is a claimable NFT. So the primary reason that I did this is just because for your purchase transactions, they actually have a little review period on the Dapper wallet. Now, continuing on, if you actually had any issues with wallet setup, you may have because you actually also will need to submit your setup account transaction into Dapper Wallet. We have a blog post on this, so we'll also send out a link to the blog post afterwards that'll make sure you go through all of those Dapper steps. But this is really what you need to do in order to like allow the transaction for setting up your wallet to be available, right? And once you've done this, then the wallet setup should proceed fully. Cool. So once you're in this app, you can now see like these are the NFTs we've created. This is a quick example of that NFT. Now I can click into this one and claim it myself, right? So what this process is really doing is putting the NFT into my wallet. It's just validating a few things first for me and then setting it up. One really interesting part of what's happening here is right now this NFT is claimed for you. It's set up and it actually hasn't been minted yet, right? So that's why you don't see a blockchain ID. Again, the user experience is up to you all. This kind of just shows you what different toggles you have on your side, but really in here you can like this information will get filled out as we get it from the chain for you.
And here we have a
So
couple questions if
yes,
we have time.
no, yeah, let's.
Um, the first one is there an option where NFTs can be minted an indefinite amount of times within a time window?
I think you'll actually just want to kind of control that yourself. We don't have the unlimited mint like officially there, but like a bunch of people pretty much do that by setting like 100,000 or a million on that number. We have really no limits on that number. And then what you can do is set up attributes that are like, I want this available on these days, and then check for them. So like the big benefit about being very API first is that you can kind of put in whatever controls you want.
Exactly. Yeah, like I think anything related to the logic, right, of how the app should work and how the NFT should work within the app is kind of up to the user, right? You're just creating the building block that people can use.
Exactly.
Um,
And we will
and
actually walk through our logic for that claim in here in a minute too. So we'll talk
awesome.
about what I'm doing here.
And another question is probably related, but does this also support dynamic NFTs?
Yes. All the NFTs are mutable by default, so you can update them, and then you can also lock them to prevent changes in the future if forever for any reason you wanted to do that.
Awesome. Cool.
Perfect. So this code is really all around being able to claim an NFT. It's going to be calling two APIs. We're using GraphQL as our API layer. We will be having a REST API at some point as well, but GraphQL is just a little bit more flexible, which is why we use it everywhere. And then basically the first one, what it's going to be doing is querying for a specific NFT model, which is like one of those templates we made. And then the second one is transferring one of those to the user. So, um, as Andrea mentioned, like you can kind of do whatever you wanted inside this logic, right? The thing that I'm checking for is really, is this NFT claimable? So if it's not claimable, this like this API will actually just return false, right? It won't let you actually go through the process of getting the NFT for free. You have to purchase it for that price. In here, you could easily check for a day, right? Is it today? If it is, then let's not allow someone to be able to claim that NFT.
There's a question that's just come in. Can one customize the Cadence NFT contracts?
Not right now, but we are more than up for talking about that with you. Like, we actually want to support other people's contracts through Niftory as well. It's just a little bit more complicated on our side. It is pretty easy to let you be able to update that contract and add new features to it. All we would do is give you like a new key to be able to modify it, and then you'd have those abilities.
Right, because I guess the issue is if it mutates too much, it might not be compatible with what you're expecting on the Niftory side, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the our main thing. But there are ways around that we're definitely interested like exploring. And if you have some use cases to talk to us about, we're like happy to like let you pilot those features when we build them.
Yeah, and I guess another thing worth mentioning is, and correct me if I'm wrong in here, but uh, Niftory is pretty early on, so like people who are trying it out are can as you just said they can help shape it, right? And Anir is one of the founders, so if you need anything, for example, even just like an extra set of keys so that you can try changing the contract, like this is the perfect time to get up and close with it, because if the project continues to grow, which I hope it does, it might be a bit more complicated in the future. So like this hackathon is a perfect opportunity to play around with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for certain parts of it, like with walletless onboarding, we'll definitely be looking at just being able to let you run arbitrary transactions and etc. For the NFT experience, we're still curious about what those use cases are. There's a lot of times where we believe we probably want to actually like update our contract to be able to support those features for everyone.
Makes sense. Awesome.
Perfect. So yeah, in here again, like all I checked for is this NFT claimable? Then we returned like, and if it was, then I actually started transferring it to the user. So that's a little bit of logic that we did. In the application, you can add whatever logic you want, right? Which again, there's no real limits on what you can build. You can turn this into a game. You don't have to think about it as like a little storefront app or anything like that. It's pretty open for you to just build whatever. And a quick example of what like that meant was this NFT is actually not claimable. So I actually didn't even show the claimable button. It's the same kind of thing we talked about before, but really this is the actual page where I'm building what the, oh, actually that may not be it. We'll jump right into this one. Okay, I think it's this page. Okay. Cool. So yeah, in this one, like this is the page where I'm actually making all of the real API calls. And in here, I'm just checking, is this item claimable? If it is, then show the claim button. If it's not claimable, then show the checkout button, right? And then in that case, we're actually going to jump into the Dapper Wallet checkout experience. So that's actually where I'm going to leave you all for the Dapper Wallet experience. To follow the rest of it, you can use our blog as your general starting point. We give you there's like a full guide on how to use this with Dapper Wallet. There will be a couple of steps where you may need to wait a little bit right now. For example, like these transactions need to be listed as live before you can actually go and do the purchase process and everything like that. And then with that, we're actually going to jump over to the quick walletless onboarding sample.
Awesome. And I think this is a good opportunity to remind everyone that this hackathon, it's not about or just about NFTs, right? It's about building any type of app that mainstream users would want to use. So, for example, your friend, your family member, your colleague who may not know anything about crypto, but they might still want to use your app. I think that's a good rule of thumb of what you should be focusing on. And the cool thing about Niftory is that it's not limited to NFTs, and Amir is going to show us how you can do that, and also get the walletless onboarding done pretty much automatically for free. So
yeah. Exactly. So this is really just another sample. You'll see this if you've cloned the repo. You'll find all the code in here. And what you'll see here are, this is actually a really simple sample. There's a little bit of scaffolding that just comes around with things, but in general, all it's doing is doing a little sign in with Google. So we're helping you just manage the Google sign in process. And then if you are signed in, you'll see the person's wallet information. And then, yeah, they should be ready to go. The one thing you will need to have done before you do this is, like we've seen a few questions around it over the weekend, is you do still need to deploy your contract. That's because we're setting up keys for you at that point, and we can't really create your wallets without keys being all set up. But just like the other app, the first thing you'll do is set up your environment. The main thing that's happening in that environment is you're just specifying kind of which app this is. Everything else should be pretty much ready for you to go. This environment file looks exactly the same as the other one, but I've already kind of pre-copied some of the information for an app for you. Again, in here, first you'll run yarn install. That's going to set up the app the first time, and then afterwards you can run yarn dev to run it locally. So I have this running here, and the first thing that I have to do, as you'd expect, is sign in with Google. That you can ignore the name. That's just a name of a little demo on our side. But then afterwards, once I sign in with Google, what it's going to do here is immediately kick off your wallet setup process. So this one is set up with a wallet already, but essentially it'll immediately give you a flow address for yourself. Sorry. And then basically like tell you if it's ready, how many items it has, that information. Again, you don't need to show this to the user. This is more for you as a developer to like understand the state of this wallet. You can keep it hidden. You can keep it on your back end to make it easier for someone. The biggest thing that happens is as people like hopefully graduate and start learning about what's happening inside these wallets and what actually happens in Web3 is like they probably eventually, hopefully one at least, start getting into their own wallet, right? And bring information into that. That's a pretty easy process. This is pre-configured to just point to Blockdo, but essentially what I'd be doing in here is just signing in with Blockdo. Then I'll have to run it in the little verify and setup transaction as I had to do before. And once I've kind of done that, it'll complete the Blockdo setup and then you'll see an additional wallet. So I've already kind of set this one up just so I don't have to jump through the 2FA prompts and etc. with everyone. But basically now both of these wallets are configured for this account, and you can show this as whatever you want. You don't have to show this as a Niftory wallet. You can call it your app wallet, right? And now both of these wallets can be used inside of this application. Flow's been adding a couple really cool features around hybrid onboarding, where basically like these two wallets can talk to each other. We'll be integrating those kind of things in this starter as well. We haven't quite yet, but we have a lot of the foundations of it in place.
Awesome. Yeah, and just to recap, what we mean by wallet onboarding is making sure that people, when they try out an application, especially people who are not familiar with the Web3 space, it's not very intuitive to see a massive connect wallet button when you first see an application. Imagine going to Facebook and seeing connect wallet before you can start using it, right? So walletless onboarding, which we're now calling account linking, is a way for you to onboard users via social identities, Google, Facebook, whatever. And in the back end, as Anir just showed, you create a wallet for them. And then when the user is ready, they can connect their own wallet. For example, as Anir just showed, their Blockto wallet. And in the future also, you're going to have that, hybrid custody part as well, where the Blockto wallet or the user's wallet that was connected after the fact can have ownership of the first wallet that was created behind the scenes for the user. And I think this is what's really powerful. It's not putting complexity up front, but letting people try out the experience with a wallet, but they may not even realize that they're using a wallet when they're first starting out. And then when they're ready, they can, let's say, progressively enhance their experience with their own wallet at their choosing, or when the app thinks it's necessary.
Yeah. And we're just trying to give this to you fully as a little service. So in here, you don't have to, like, again, implement Google sign-in yourself. You don't have to implement like wallet custody creation management yourself, right? And you can just kind of focus on the actual end user experience. Basically, the core things that are happening are we're giving you that managed sign in. We'll be adding other providers like Facebook, etc., into it, and then generating the custodial wallet for you, and then also just giving you the sample code to link external wallets so that your users can become more advanced and start doing more things. Perfect. So that's all I actually had for everyone today. But I will be here for any more questions. I've seen that there's a good number of messages on here, but yeah, we're happy to keep answering questions as people go.
Yeah, I think we answered all questions apart from Noah, who just asked, what about credit card payments? I think you briefly touched on it earlier, but if you just want to, reiterate the answer.
Yep. So for credit card payments, basically what you'll be doing is like you can use our listing APIs or you can use Dapper Wallet. That's the two different ways that are easy to do credit card payments. For the listing APIs, you'll have a little bit of like you'll just have to onboard a little bit with Stripe if you want to do it purely walletless. I saw the mobile questions as well, like everything in, yeah, like of course for the hackathon, but again with these APIs, you can very quickly go ahead and build out like mobile apps too, since the APIs are very easy to call through mobile.
Yeah, and I think we can safely say that if you're building a mobile app and you're using Niftory, then it's still valid. So yeah, as long as the app is native, I think that's the most important part. Cool.
Yeah, in terms of features that are outside of NFTs, the biggest things, like we are building some of this right now, but the core things will be being able to like let you run arbitrary transactions on top of the custodial wallets and things like that. Those will be what really opens up being able to do really anything on Flow. We are a little bit newer in the walletless onboarding world. We really just like started creating all of that in the last month or so. You can definitely implement your own auction system with this. Like, yeah, we've definitely had customers do that. And then in terms of burning the NFT, we definitely have functions to burn the NFT. We don't have an API for burning right now, but we probably should. It would be pretty easy for us to add that API so you can burn like one that's like a user can burn something and you can expose that in your app, or we give you, or you can burn one that you've already accidentally minted or anything like that.
Maybe I know you briefly touched on it just now, but going back to Kamal's question around other use cases, do you have any guidance for people who maybe don't want to build an NFT storefront because they want to win the hackathon, like how they should maybe take inspiration or use Niftory and yeah, build a completely custom solution? Is that possible right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest things I would think about are building like mobile apps, games, all of those different things. Like they could use NFTs as a little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
And then the rest of it can be all the walletless portions, everything else. And like it doesn't have to be a storefront specifically, right? I feel like the biggest thing
exactly.
that happens is that like, yeah, we don't want you to just create storefronts just because those are what some of the samples are. We want you to build kind of unique experiences that use the chain, that use NFTs under them. We've been seeing some people build cool things with attaching like phone numbers to like wallets to NFTs, so people can go and like easily, when they check out their coffee, they start getting rewards immediately on top of them. So there's a lot of different things you can build. Like I wouldn't limit it to like building a quick little storefront, you know. But
Yeah,
getting the storefront up, you can get that up and running pretty quickly.
exactly. And I think it's a very good point. Something you mentioned, you know, NFTs, we tend to consider them as a thing, but really they're more of a concept of something that is unique, right? So the base structure of an NFT can be used for much more than just art or to represent, assets. For example, if you're building a chess game, then the NFTs can be the pieces, or they can be the bets that people put on for the game. Like there's a lot of different ways in which the same concept can be reused and reinterpreted based on what you're trying to build. And I think this is actually what the Web3 world needs a lot, right? Is like breaking free of the preconceptions of what NFTs are and trying to use them in a more generalized way, because really everything in life is non-fungible, as Roham's TED Talk says. So yeah, use this as an opportunity to stretch what an NFT can be.